Laptop RAM upgrade. Quick, no nonsense guide to more speed and power. First we'll check the RAM specifications, pick the perfect upgrade, open the laptop and replace the RAMs and make sure it's running at full speed. Let's begin by checking RAM specs in Windows. I'll show you two ways to check your device's RAM specs without opening your laptop. The first and easiest is using Task Manager. You can open the Task Manager either by searching for Task Manager in the Start menu or by pressing the shortcut Ctrl plus Shift plus Escape. Once it is open, go to the Performance tab and click on Memory. Here you can see your total RAM. In my case it is 16 GB. The speed shown is 3200 megatransfers per second, which basically means the RAM can handle 3.2 billion data transfers each second. In simple terms, the higher speed means faster communication between the RAM and your processor. Slot used 2 of 2 implies both there are 2 memory slots and both are already filled. So I'll need to replace one or both sticks to upgrade. Since the total RAM is 16 GB, it is safe to assume each stick is 8 GB. And the form factor SODI means it is a small laptop sized RAM module. The second way to check RAM stats is using PowerShell. First, open PowerShell from your Start menu. We'll use a commandlet called Get-CimInstance. It queries Windows hardware database and lets us read details like install memory, slots, and limits. The first command lists each RAM module with key details. I'll put these commands in the video description so you can copy them easily. The output of the command is BankLabel, which means which slot the stick is in, the capacity, the size of the RAM stick in bytes. The huge number basically comes down to 8 GB, which is the RAM size. The speed is the module's rated speed. Manufacturer and part number are not required but is good to have as reference. So as we can see, both the output of the Task Manager and the PowerShell matches. The second command gives a quick summary of slots and maximum capacity. This one will also be in the video description. Here the slot used and total slots are self-explanatory. In my case, both slots are in use with 8 GB RAM each. The laptop's maximum supported memory in gigabytes in my case is 32 GB, which means we can have 2 into 16 GB sticks at max. Now let's see how to check RAM details on Linux. We'll use a tool called dmidecode, which reads hardware information directly from the system's BIOS. To install it, open the terminal and run sudo apt install dmidecode. Similarly, if you want to uninstall it later, just run the command sudo apt uninstall dmidecode. To quickly see memory information, run dmidecode with type memory. This gives a full report of all memory devices, slots, and supported configs. But it's a bit too detailed, so let's use some custom commands to get clean outputs. The first custom command that we'll use is to check total RAM slots and how many are occupied. These commands again will be added in the description. The next command lists each RAM stick with its size, speed, and slot location. So you know exactly what is installed in each slot. This command gives RAM specific information. We can see the similar output to CimInstance that we used in Windows part. The last custom command adds up the total installed RAM and also shows the maximum capacity supported by your system. In my case, I have 16 GB RAM, which can go up to 32 GB. Now let's move to opening the laptop. First, make sure it's completely powered off and disconnected from the charger. It's always a good idea to remove any external devices just to be safe. For this video, I'll be using my HP Pavilion gaming laptop. I've had this machine for about 3 years now, and I mainly use it for coding. On a typical day, I'll have multiple heavy apps running side by side like Android Studio with the emulator, VS Code, Postman, Discord, few browser tabs, and a bunch of other tools. With all that load, the 16 GB RAM just wasn't cutting it. That's why I decided to upgrade the RAM. So before handling internal parts, it's always a good idea to ground yourself. That means touching a metal surface like a table leg or cabinet to discharge any static electricity from your body. Or even better, wear any anti-static wrist strap. Static shock, even when you can't feel it, might damage sensitive components inside the laptop. Doing this once before you start is usually enough. Now turn the laptop upside down and place it on a soft, stable surface. A clean, thick cloth or mat works best, as it prevents scratches and keeps the laptop steady while you work. For tools, I'll be using the Spartan screwdriver kit. It has multiple precision bits that make the job easier, but you don't need something fancy. Even a small star screwdriver like the one I got for free works fine as well. When opening up a laptop, there are usually several screws holding the bottom panel in place. The exact number and placement can vary between models, so be sure to remove them all. Keep the screws organized as you go, since losing even one can cause issues when assembling later. This laptop has 7 screws holding the bottom panel. Always count them at the beginning so you know none are left behind when reassembling. It's also a good idea to have a small container or tray handy to store the screws. This way they don't get misplaced and you can easily put them back later without confusion. Once the screws are out, the next step is opening the panel. Here I'm using a small flat head screwdriver attached to the driver to lift the edge. This works, but it's not the ideal way. A better option is to use a plastic pry tool or a guitar pick, something thin, non-metallic and gentle. That way you avoid scratching the case or damaging the clips inside. Be extra careful during this part because the clips holding the panel can be a bit tight. Work your way slowly around the edges until the panel loosens. Once all the edges are free, carefully lift the back cover and the inside of the laptop is now exposed. With the back cover removed, let's take a quick look at the main components inside this laptop. On the right, this is an empty bay for a 2.5-inch SATA drive. You can add an HDD or SSD here if you want extra storage. But please note that in this laptop model, it does not support a second NVMe. At the bottom right is the battery, the main power source when the laptop isn't plugged into the charger. At the top, you'll see the cooling system, fans and heat pipes. Under this black protective cover are the RAM slots and the NVMe SSD. The RAM is what we'll be upgrading shortly, and the SSD is your main storage for the operating system and files. I intend to upgrade the NVMe as well in the future. If I ever do it, I'll add that video as well. Here's the RAM we'll be installing today. It's the Crucial DDR4 3200 MHz sodium 32 GB kit. This kit comes with 16 GB sticks, giving us 32 GB in total. It runs at 3200 megatransfers per second, which is the maximum speed supported by this laptop. And because it's sodium, it's designed for laptop. Crucial is also a trusted brand known for reliability and compatibility, which makes it a safer choice for upgrade. Crucial RAMs are also available as single 16 GB sticks, but it's always better to use matching RAM modules in pairs. That way, they run in dual channel mode, which doubles the available memory bandwidth and gives noticeably better performance compared to a single stick running in single channel mode. Now let's remove the existing RAM sticks. To do this, gently push the two metal clips at the side of the RAM slot outwards. The stick will pop at an angle. Carefully slide it out by pulling straight along that angle. Don't bend or twist it. Just let it slide out smoothly. Repeat the same for the second stick. Here you can see the old RAM sticks side by side with the new ones. They are the same size physically, but the new Crucial kit gives us double the capacity and better performance for multitasking. Now to install the new sticks, line up the notch on the RAM with the ridge in the slot. It only fits one way, so don't force it. Slide the stick in at about a 30-degree angle, then press it down firmly until you hear a satisfying click as the clips lock into place. That click means the RAM is seated properly. Do the same for the second stick. With both modules installed securely, the upgrade is complete. Now we can put the back cover on. Just make sure all the screws are back in place and every side of the panel is properly closed before powering it on. With the back cover closed and the screws secured, let's power on the laptop and make sure everything is fine. Now let's open Task Manager to confirm our install. Under the Performance tab, in the Memory section, you can see 32 GB of RAM detected, confirming the upgrade was successful. We can also confirm it through PowerShell using the same command as before. This shows each RAM stick with its slot, capacity and speed. As you can see, both slots are filled with 16 GB sticks running at 3200 mega transfers per second. Exactly the new Crucial kit we installed. Here's a quick bonus tip. Instead of digging through dozens of forums or spec sheets, you can actually use ChatGPT to figure out the right RAM for your laptop. First, ask ChatGPT for the PowerShell commands to check laptop details. Then as you can see, it gives you a few commands. A list of commands, then you can copy paste them one by one into the PowerShell. Let's try the first two. Let's try the first one. This gives the computer info, OS name, architecture. Okay, does not look like a very useful command. Let's try the second one. This basically gives the CPU details. Okay, now this is the RAM command. I think we have already used this in our video as well. Yes. And the last one is for the SSD. Alright. So these are the commands. Now you can copy paste all of them back into ChatGPT. It's Control C and Control V. Yeah, so here I am recording this video after I've completed the RAM change. So it's giving me 16 GB. So I'll just change it to the equivalent 8 GB RAM. And then ask it what RAMs that I can install in my system. Here you can see the top recommendations. Just to be safe, you can also ask it to give you the laptop model info as well. So just so it can look for the right RAM for this model. Since it already knows my laptop model, it gave the answer. But yeah, so it will usually give an output like this. Now you can ask it directly to give the RAM info. Yeah, so here you have the list of upgrade options available. Okay, with the supported type, speed, maximum. Okay. Yeah, 16 GB DDR4, 3200 sodium. Now open Amazon and search these specs in the Amazon search bar. Yeah, so here you can Amazon will list you the best. Now you can look through all of them and decide on your own. But yeah, the one that I went for was Crucial. So this is the Crucial single RAM, 16 GB single RAM. I went for the 32 GB kit. So after my small research, I found out the 32 GB, the Crucial 32 GB kit is the best and the most affordable option, and it fulfills my requirement. Similarly, the other two options were Corsair and Kingston. Yeah, so this is how you can use ChatGPT. Basically, instead of guessing or hunting through random forums, ChatGPT can give you quick RAM options. You don't need the premium ChatGPT for this. You can just use the free version as well.